Welcome into the DML Network. It's your boy Expert, and we got a new show here on the DML Network called the Halftime Report, and we're going to talk about rookies, would you rather, and some news around the dynasty. And of course, I got a co-host for this. You see it on the screen. It's the homie Nasty Noob. What up, Noob?
What's going on?
Hey, man, it's the first episode of the Halftime Report. I'm super excited for this show. Clean graphics. We're going to get into some news, what's going on with the dynasty. We're going to talk about who's balling in the dynasty. And of course, we're going to talk about some top rookies. And then who would you rather have? That's going to be an interesting segment. But let's first start with around the dynasty. And I think the first thing we got to talk about, Noob, is we got to talk about this sick gate. And we had a little incident in the preseason. Not the season that we work, the preseason. We talking about preseason, Noob. But we had a little sick gate, is what you could call it, where we have one user said he was ready to play. He picks the time, and then he doesn't show up for the time. And the other user says, hey, man, that's a pump fake. I need my pick. And this right here, Noob, I think divided this group more than anything else. What did you think of sick gate when it first came to you?
When it first came to me, I was under the impression that it was preseason. It wasn't going to be a big deal, that it would just blow over. But it turned out to be totally different from my first gut feeling. This turned out to be a week and a half of my life of having to go back in between two individuals, trying to come to some common ground to where, hey, man, we can get past this. Because trust and believe, for me, I was like, hey, this may be the end of the league at this point because of this whole situation, because both sides weren't willing to relent, and it was coming down to an end, man, where I thought maybe one of the users weren't going to be here anymore. So I don't know, man. It was very interesting. What were your thoughts on it?
It definitely was one of those things that kind of ran us over as a board team, as a commish team, where you looked at and you were like, wait a minute, we talking about the preseason. We just don't we don't talk about preseason here. Like, that was my first initial thought. Okay, it's the preseason. Like, man, put him on auto and just move on with your life and go on about your business. But then after talking with KP about it, and it was like, you know what? Hey, listen, y'all know Chris Murray is my dog. That is my homie. I mean, we've been broke bread. We've been to EA Play. We've done so many shows together. I mean, that's my guy. One of the most passionate dudes about the dynasty. Does an amazing job in Walk the Line. I mean, one of the best shows we have here on the channel. I mean, he is one of the originals in the dynasty. But he has the reputation, Noop. He has the reputation when he's out and about that his communication skills and his scheduling skills is right up there with the homie with the Seattle Seahawks and Centaur. I'm talking like disappear mode, just never responds in time until it's convenient for him. So I can see both sides, but I just thought, I was kind of like you, Noob. I thought, okay, this shit's gonna blow over. These two dudes gonna talk to each other in the DM. It's gonna be done. We're gonna stop worrying about it. But I think it was a good thing for us. And this is why I'm going to say this, Noob. I think it was an opportunity for us to kind of step back and see a bigger picture of how important people's time is to them, especially nowadays with everything that's going on in the world. We want to get back our time. We want a return on investment of our time, and I understand that. And I think Chris Murray understands that. KP understands it, and I'm glad it's over with, right? I'm glad it's done. It got pushed to the side. It's finished, and we got to the regular season, and here we are battling out. And both of those guys battling right now for their respective divisions. But I'm glad sick gate is over with. It's done. Hopefully we never have to deal with that again. But we have – go ahead.
No, I was going to say most definitely, because from this point moving forward, a precedent has been set, and this line will no longer be crossed as long as I'm the commissioner moving forward. The two lines between Madden and real life will no longer be blurred. If a person comes and say, hey, I'm sick, I have a family issue, whatever, automatically we're going to defer to that individual. Hey, man, handle your business. Real life always comes first, and we'll just keep it moving. But when it comes to the Madden stuff, I'm willing to go to the mat. I'm willing to go down that hill to protect people's the integrity of the league, the rules, and all the other stuff. But people can't come to me and pick up the phone and call me and ask me to punish somebody, especially when we're in the middle of a pandemic and I know people are getting sick. I know people in my personal life have had COVID. I've known several people in the league have had COVID. And I try to be sympathetic to that, to be like, hey, man, your health and well-being is more important to me than some video game. And I would hope that everybody in the league would operate on that same manner. But if not, I'm going to be the moral compass of this league, and that's how we're going to move forward. Now, in saying that, just like I stated in the group me chat, in the non-chat, if you want to be a clown and you want to lie about this stuff in order to avoid getting a penalty, that's not a Noop issue. That's a you issue, because that comes down to your character at that point. It's not my character, because my character is standing on, hey, I'm looking out for you as a human being over a video game. So I would hope that we have a group of guys here in the Dynasty that their moral compass points a little bit further north than being an a-hole that you feel like you got to lie over a video game, man. It's just not that serious. So we'll see how it progresses as we finish up this cycle.
All right, man, let's move on to the next topic, and that's the abilities. And I'm going to let you kind of explain what is happening with abilities. EA, another amazing job taking care of the CFM community.
Well, once again, this is another pile of crap that's been put on my plate of people asking or requesting that the abilities be turned off. I sat around, I thought about it again, and I thought about it a third time. And my gut feeling is no. Abilities will stay on. Why? Because we're playing a game that's let's be totally honest with ourselves. This is not the best game that Madden EA has ever put out. This game is broken. Suction tackles are back. A whole other host of issues as far as like the league settings do not work. That's why coaches are being fired. Even though coaching firing is off, people are still being fired from the league. The game is broken. So as the commissioner of this league, should I pick and choose which aspects of the game that we should turn off? Should I do that, or should we continue to drive through? Yeah, everybody in the league is dealing with the same issues. It's just not like, hey, the Falcons are dealing with this issue as far as like that third box is not lighting up. Everybody is dealing with this. So if everybody is dealing with it, I believe it's an issue that we can continue to work through to get through this cycle. And like always, hope for the best when we go to Madden 23. I'm not expecting too much, but it is what it is at this point. So if you have an issue or you want to get mad at somebody, at this point, I'm the captain of this ship, and I'm going to eat this one, and I'm going to go down with it, because this was ultimately my decision. And even saying that, moving forward, like big decisions like that will rest with me. I will talk about it with the board. We will discuss it. Everybody will give their opinion, but then it will come down to me, because it goes back to the whole issue with Sickgate, where I left that up to, and I want to remove myself from that, because people always want to assume that, oh, well, if something went this way, then Dion did something, or Noop had something to do with it. Well, half the time I don't. I let other people make those decisions. But I learned my lesson from Sickgate in the aspect of, I can't do that. Good or bad, I'm going to have to eat it. So if I'm going to have to eat the shit, then I'm going to be the one that's fixing it. So I'm the one that made the ultimate decision on we're going to keep abilities on. So if you're mad, I'm the person that you need to DM, and I'm going to tell you, hey, good luck.
Hey, so I agree with the decision. We're all dealing with it. It sucks. It's just another screw up from the EA team with abilities. But again, we don't normally change stuff in the middle of a season. Like we normally wait till the end of a season, and then we kind of get together as a board and say, okay, let's relook at this issue and see. It's just kind of like, with putting auto flip on your defense. We got into that first season or halfway through the first season and then into the second season, and it got brought up, let's put auto flip on. And we all agreed in the boardroom that yes, auto flip should be on, but we're not going to change it till the end of the season, because it's just not something we do halfway through a season. We just don't change stuff. It's always how we've been. As far as people want to say Noop gives favoritism, let me tell y'all something. That sorriest user in the Dynasty and the Houston Texans got my quarterback. If you think there's any favoritism in this league, Just go look and see where Kyler Murray is playing, because he don't play for the Cardinals no more. I got a statue back there in Baker Mayfield that's killing me. Watching this man roll around with my Kyler Murray out there that's going to have a losing record. So if you think there's favoritism, man, just look at the boardroom. We've hit Taz with a penalty. We've hit OG with a penalty. We've hit underrated, bust. Every single person in that boardroom has had a penalty where we could have gone as a boardroom and say, you know what, we're going to let that one go. But we don't, because we try and have an integrity in this league. And again, everybody in that boardroom vote counts for one. 99.9% of the time, everybody's vote is one. And I will tell you this, and I don't want to give a bunch of the board stuff away, but as a board team, a lot of times Noop vote doesn't even matter, because the rest of us make a vote before Noop even gets involved with it. And we either put out the violation, we say there's no violation. Now, there are times where Noop comes back in, just like we tried to give HBO a violation the other day, and Noop said, nope, the rule is if it's a play action, he can do that. It's not a violation. He took it away. Those times are very, very rare. That's why I say it's 99.9% of the time. Noop really has no involvement in what we're doing as far as violations, doing this, making decisions as a team. He's not the lead. It's not like his vote counts for 5 and everybody else gets a 1. So I just think sometimes Noop, and I could be wrong, maybe you think different. I think sometimes people just like to be angry and go against what's happening in the league. Like, we literally could say we're going to give everybody an extra ability, and there would be users in the league that says, no, that would be a stupid idea. Like, I really do think that. Like, those are the dudes that win the lottery and have $100 million and then gripe and complain because they got to give $10 million up for taxes. That's just those type of people. And unfortunately, we got to deal with those. But the abilities issue, I think, is one we're going to look at again. I don't think it's over with. But as of right now, in this season, till we crown a champion, the ability issue is done for us as a group. Like, we just got to battle through it. We got to fight through it. And we all got to deal with it.
Exactly. And just to piggyback off of that, sometimes when stuff comes into the chat as far as the board and there's a vote, I don't even vote. Why? Because I don't want my vote to sway anybody else's. I want everybody to, go ahead and say what they have to say and then keep it moving. And if it passes or fails without my vote, that helps me out a whole lot better, because then I didn't have any sway one way or the other in it. Because it just, to me, that works better for me. So I try to stay out of a lot of the issues that come up into the board. Like, I see the vote, hey man, we need to vote on this, and I just don't say nothing. I was like, oh well, let me see how they take this. And the only time that has really come back to bite me in the butt was on the whole Chris Murray and KP situation. I should have been more vocal on that one to try to shut that down, because I kind of knew what was coming, but I wanted to be more a politician, diplomatic in the situation, and allow things to work out. And I probably should have stepped in there, but that's probably it, man. As far as the abilities goes, we'll see where it goes after this season and into the future.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about one of my favorite things in the Dynasty, and that's high stakes. It's coming up. 2027, I think is what you said, Noop, will be the season that we have high stakes. So what can you tell us about high stakes? I know it's early in the process, but we're already starting to think about it.
Well, as of this recording, all I know is that high stakes will take place in end of April, beginning of June 2027. I want to try to get high stakes out the way as early as possible this year, and then have maybe one more season after high stakes, which right now I'm looking at maybe giving away 2 copies of Madden 23. I was just thinking about this before the show, maybe giving it to the highest scoring offensive team, and maybe to the defensive minded individual that allows the least amount of points throughout the season. That's not in stone right now. I'm just trying to make it, trying to come up with something to where everybody participates in that last season before we take a break heading into Madden 23. I don't want to argue. I don't want to fight. I don't want to force people to play. But I'm gonna give everybody something to play for. A free copy of Madden 23 to where you don't have to go out and pay for it yourself. 2 copies. Hey, you can't beat that. You cannot beat that. So.
And everybody knows when we go to high stakes, there's always a little twist, right? There's always a little rule. Have you started thinking about what are we going to force onto the user Last year you couldn't make any quick adjustments. You had to play the play as it was called. You couldn't do anything offensively or defensively. Have you started to think about what's that rule that you're going to put to kind of force guys to open up their abilities?
Right now, I have nothing for you, to be honest with you. I have absolutely nothing for you. Because maybe 10 minutes before we recorded this show, I finally narrowed it down to 2027 to where I haven't even started planning that aspect yet. So,
Dynasty, be ready, because there's going to be a set of rules come out that you're going to have to fight with. I think that's the hardest thing. Is listen, you're going to hear Nuke talk about it all the time. You could start to prepare now in season 2024, 2025, or you could wait till 2027. That's your choice. But there will be some rules that come out that will hinder how you play this game, and you're going to have to try and work on some things offensively and defensively to try and figure that out. Nuke, when we talk about high stakes, do you think that's something that just sets us apart as a league?
I think so. I guess I ask, name me another league to where nobody is guaranteed to be the number one pick. Even me as a commissioner, I'm not guaranteed to be the number one pick. I think I picked like 18 or 19 last year in the draft last year. Nobody is guaranteed. I'm sure you wanted to pick higher so that you could have stayed in Dallas. Everybody, it's all about, at that point, it comes down to your skill level and how you prepare for high stakes, which sets us apart. I do want to bring this up. The point system is back, and we will be deducting points from users that finish in the bottom 5. Look like I'll be losing maybe 10 points this season. It just is what it is. So, that's another wrinkle that I'm throwing in there as far as that, because a lot of people complain, oh, this person is tanking, trying to build up for high stakes. At this point, that's a detriment to you. That's a detriment to anybody that does that moving forward, because if you tank for the next 4 seasons, that's a minus 40 points at that point.
Yeah.
And when I put out the point system, a lot of work goes into putting out these shows and doing all these other things, but I'm not sure yet how many points I'm going to allocate towards shows, just so that the point system for tanking still has that same impact. Like, you can't come out and just do 2 shows and you don't wipe out those 40 points because you decide to tank for 4 seasons.
Right.
So that's the stuff I'm trying to think of right now as far as how to handle that and how to move forward, because I always want to be fair to everybody and give everybody incentive. You should want to win. I hate losing. People may think, oh, Noob is tanking. I hate losing. It burns me up every time I lose, and it burns me up even more that if I lose to C-Rob. That burns me up. Burns me up. So know that I'm not tanking. Know that I'm out here trying to win each and every game that I play, because if I'm not, I'm wasting my time. Wasting my time playing this game if I'm just sitting here trying to lose for an entire month just so I can get some player that may or may not live up to the hype. So that's stupid to me.
Yeah, shout out to homie comeback C-Rob. Not having a great season himself. I mean, he's 7-7. I mean, yeah. Nuke definitely struggling down there with only 2 wins.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, I know how much he hates losing, especially because he's hung a banner in this league. So I know how much Nuke hates. And I'm glad you brought up the point system. And I just want to make sure everybody that listens to the show, all the guys that are in the Dynasty, that you guys understand, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to jump on a show, because I understand, like, this is not for everybody. Like, some people get nervous trying to do stuff like this. They can't get on the show. We've had them on shows before, and it's just not their thing. There's other ways to contribute to the league. And my suggestion is that you reach out to one of the commissioners, ask how you can help, ask what the point value would be, and help in some way. But of course, there's going to be guys that just sit back and not do anything, and they're going to drop in points. So there's going to be someone with a worse record than them that's going to jump them in the high stakes draft, and they're going to at that point complain and say what happened. We put the point system out early, Nuke, for this exact reason. Yeah, you guys have no excuse if you don't put the work in of why guys that do put work in are picking higher than you. You just have no excuse. And so, but like Noob said, you can't just do a couple shows and wipe out your tanking, or, and Noob, you're going to have those guys that get, the season before high stakes or a high stakes season, and they think, okay, now I got to get some points. At that point, it's too late. You done let all the other guys work their tails off and be in front of you. So we'll see. Now, of course, we like to lock in those top 8 positions. You can't fall lower than 8 as those top 8. So there'll be some things. Just be on the lookout for that kind of stuff But let's move into the last thing here on Around the Dynasty, and that's the state of the league, Noop. And nobody knows it probably better than the commish that started this thing, that built this DML network from the ground up. What is the state of the dynasty?
At the present moment, I believe, and I've spoken to several people, the dynasty is just not the dynasty anymore. And I take on some responsibility for that just because life got busy. I'm dealing with different things as far as like I'm working some days, man, 12, 13, 14-hour days. So I don't have the time to put into the league like I used to. But in saying that, this is a 32-man league, and that means that this league is only as good as its weakest link. So at this point, I'm asking everybody to step up to try to get this league back to where it used to be, to where it was fun, it was enjoyable, it was constantly back and forth bickering in the league. It was very competitive here. Just don't sense that anymore. And it's, a lot of it is because some guys have retreated to their corners. They don't say anything in the chat anymore. They're not involved anymore. And I'm just not going to fight with those guys anymore at this point. And this goes back probably to high stakes and to the point system somewhat. You can sit in your corner, you can do what you want, but just know that I will be deducting from you. And I'll be honest with you. Don't care if you finish in, and we just spoke about this, the top 8. You finish in the top 8, I will determine if I feel like you deserve to be in the top 8 at that point because you didn't contribute to the league. You did nothing. So if you want to be a ghost, if you want to be Casper, if you want to be, whatever, don't care. But my goal to close out this cycle is to get some kind of camaraderie and brotherhood back in the league. It may never get back to where it was a few cycles ago, just because I don't think we don't have that. It's like we were racing against Usain Bolt. We were going up against the NBL. For me personally, they were my benchmark. So when I decided to do things, I was always racing against them. And when they decided to fold and go away, that kind of, took a little bit of wind out of my sail to where, man, I don't have that force pushing me anymore. That person that's keeping me up at night trying to be the best in this Madden stuff. I don't have that anymore. So I kind of fell off as far as like the content and all this other stuff and being involved in the league like I used to. But hopefully with other guys within the league, you got the Bus, you got Expert, you got Chris Murray, and anybody else that wants to step up and try to bring back that enjoyment. And in saying that, I also want to say everybody here is not going to agree with the stuff and the decisions that I make as the commissioner of this league, and that's totally understandable. But all I ask is that we're men here and not act like females. You may disagree with me on this. That does not mean that you get to crawl up into your little ball, go into your corner and take your ball home and say, well, I'm not going to do this anymore because he didn't agree with me on this. No, that's not how you should be. You should be, okay, I didn't win this battle, but I'm going to continue to put out my shows. I'm going to continue to do my graphics. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to track the points in the spreadsheet for the league. I'm going to continue to be on the trade team. I'm going to continue to do what I got to do. And that helps the league overall. Overall, it helps the league. No longer can this league continue to ride on my back because, one, I'm 7 years older. I no longer have the energy that I used to have to be able to grind it out like I used to have. Used to put out 4 or 5 shows a season. No longer have that energy. Just me putting together this show took everything in my power, and I'm on vacation for the next. I've been on vacation since last week and this week, and it still took all my energy to pull myself out of bed just to walk downstairs and put this show together. So you must understand, I'm very limited in what I can do. So I'm asking for everybody's help here. If you don't want to do anything but you want to donate monetarily to help us go out and buy graphics again, because once I told everyone when my hard drive went down, I lost 6 years of my life. 6 years of my life down the tubes. So now I'm having to try to rebuild and do all this other stuff and put stuff together to keep the morale of the league up. But you just can't depend on me alone anymore. It's got to be everybody here fighting to keep the Dynasty one of the best leagues out there, if not the best league out there.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I want to add, because I think Noop hit that perfectly and we want to get to the rest of this show, is that if you have an idea for a show, for some kind of entertainment for the league, please speak up. Get in one of our DMs and let us know. Because Noop, I think that's when the league was the best, right? It was guys that were coming to us, or even when I first started with the content, was coming to y'all and saying, "Hey, man, I think I could do a show. Here's an idea I got," and we put that together, and it just took off. Somebody in this league may have that next great idea, that next great show. I mean, you look at guys like The Bus and Sweets 99 and Tight Work when they brought out Numbers Don't Lie, and that show just took off. I mean, we're talking, and then you got The Bus Stop with The Bus, just another great show. Those are all ideas that someone had that didn't keep them to themselves and said, "Hey, this is an idea I got, bounce it off some people, and let's maybe add some new shows to the DML network." And see where we can go. And I'm sure we can do some other things. And like you said, man, the brotherhood in the league, I mean, there's still guys in this league that, I mean, I got personal phone numbers. It's not like, they not just Dynasty guys to me. I mean, they guys that, we talk to on the phone, and, we friends on Facebook, and we laughing at each other's TikToks. I mean, it's just more than just the Madden stuff. It's so much outside that. And then, I don't know, Noop, if you saw the battle that went on today in the chat between Sweets 99's son, HBO, and the Bus. But that, that stuff like that makes me just die laughing when I read that stuff, because you got to scroll back up and find the start of it. And Bus just went in, and then HBO comes back. HBO got a video that got to come out. So that kind of stuff right there, I think, is just hilarious. It's funny, and it helps the league, even if it's true. Even if, like, some of that stuff, the Bus and HBO say to each other is true, it's still hilarious to me. But that's enough about the intro, enough about Around the Dynasty. Let's get to some of these players that we want to talk about. And so this next segment is called Who Would You Rather? And we're going to put up two guys from one position, and we're going to ask you, who would you rather have on your team? And of course, we're going to go at the most important position in the Dynasty, and that's at the quarterback position. And we got two guys here in Lamar Jackson playing for the Baltimore Ravens, and then you got Trey Lance on the other side in the NFC playing for those San Francisco 49ers. KP has Lamar Jackson, and then Ramsey has the 49ers. I gotta know his name because he keep on beating me, even though I won the Super Bowl the first year. He's got my number right now. I gotta figure him out. And Noop, who would you rather have before we ever look at the numbers? Who would you rather have just based on what you see these guys at? Both of these guys are mobile quarterbacks. I think Lamar Jackson a little bit more mobile than Trey Lance is. Both of them have good arms. Trey Lance probably a little bit better cannon than Lamar Jackson. So what is more important to you, the legs on Lamar or the arm that's on Trey Lance?
As a coach that likes a quarterback to sit in the pocket and pick you apart, I'm probably going to go more towards a Trey Lance. That's more my style, more that Matt Ryan, just get it down the field type style player. Me having Lamar Jackson may go to waste, man, just because I'm just not a scrambling type of guy. I'm not looking to run the ball that much. How about yourself?
Yeah, and see, I like the Lamar Jackson because I think his legs open up so much stuff for that offense. And I think we'll look at it when we see some of their stats. But you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, who, if you look on here, of course, these stats do not include this past couple games, I believe. But if you look at right now, Lamar Jackson sitting at 122 quarterback rating. He's got over 3,100 passing yards and 30 touchdowns. I think the biggest thing, and it's not up here, the interceptions for Lamar Jackson is what I struggle with. He's got 21, and I think a lot of that is KP is forcing it. But if you watch this guy play with Lamar Jackson, KP is scrambling out the pocket. He is finding guys open, the second read, the third read, and those are passes he cannot throw if he doesn't have the leg ability that Lamar Jackson has. And then what is the record? When you look at this Baltimore Raven team, I want to say last season they were like 13-0 before they took a loss. I mean, they were the team to beat last year at a certain point. And you look at them this year at 11-3, still playing well, still doing great, are going to make the playoffs there in the AFC. I like this guy, Lamar Jackson. But, Noop, do you think Lamar can lead this team to a championship? Something that KP has been begging for here for the last couple cycles.
I was asking myself that while you was speaking. I'm not sure. I just don't think Lamar Jackson has that to get you over the hump. Because if you become too dependent on, he's He's rushed for 709 yards over the season. Are you too dependent on the rushing from Lamar Jackson to get you to the promised land? I haven't played KP in a while, so I'm not sure if he's balanced in the offensive side of the ball as far as like being able to set up a running game. Did do a little research. He looks to be kind of pass happy. I remember when KP came into the league, he was very pass happy. Didn't run the ball that much. So I'm trying to see if he's probably leaning more back to being a passer now instead of being like balanced offense. So in my opinion, I don't think KP will raise a banner this cycle.
See, and I'm going to go the opposite way. I think when you look at the stats for the Ravens, yes, Lamar has over 3,000 passing yards, but you look at his running game, he's got over 1,900 yards as a group. The rookie Ricky Wall that came out of New Hampshire last year that he picked up, the little 5'10", 231-pound bowling ball that he's got is averaging almost 6 yards a carry. He's got 1,200 rushing yards right now. He's doing well. I think the biggest problem for the Ravens is not even in that locker room. It's not even in Baltimore. It's over there in OHIO. It's those Cleveland Browns. And those Cleveland Browns right now are 12-2, and they are balling their tails off. And he's chasing that Cleveland team. He's got to find a way to get that Cleveland team out of here. And then you look at the AFC, Noob. I think I think when we look at stuff, that's the biggest thing for me is that we don't look at it as a whole. You got guys like Sweets 99 with the Patriots. You got the Dolphins right now at 12-2. You got the Chiefs balling at 12-1. You got the Jags and Mr. Toxic himself playing well over there. I mean, this is a top-heavy AFC. And so even if you get in, Noob, you got to go through a juggernaut of users to try and find your way into the Super Bowl. And then even when you get into the Super Bowl, you still got to play guys like the Bus on the other side, or you got to play OG, or you might see Expert. So I think it's more difficult now to win a banner than it's ever been in the Dynasty because we are so top heavy. But I think KP finds a way to get it done and he wins a Super Bowl. But let's move on to the next quarterback because we got to look at the other guy, and that's Trey Lance. And when you look at Trey Lance from the 49ers, his stats not quite up there the same as where Lamar is, only 2,700 passing yards. He's only rushed for 218. He does not run as much, but he's got the 27 touchdowns. But this is more of a pocket guy here, Noop. And tell me why you like the guy that can stand in the pocket and just kind of look down the field and find that guy that's open.
For me personally, I think that's more demoralizing for a person to sit in the pocket and just pick you apart. And when I mean pick you apart, I mean he's picking you apart with the tight end. He's hitting the halfback out the backfield. He's hitting the wide receivers. He has multiple people that he's hitting. When you're going up and you're facing, let's say, Kyler Murray, when I'm playing against HBO, I knew what he was going to do the entire game. He's going to play action, roll to the right. So I started planning my defense to shut that down. But when you're dealing with a quarterback that can sit in the pocket and pick you apart like that, and you never know where he's going to go with the ball, I think that's a bigger threat than having a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, and if you look at this 49er team, they're a little bit more balanced. They got J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State that's playing real well, 1,300 yards. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. You got to back up Elijah Mitchell, who comes in. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. And then you got Trey Lance, who also can run. So they're a little bit more balanced in San Francisco. And I think, and this is my opinion, Newton, you may disagree, and I'd love to hear your opinion, but I think the Ravens are closer to a Super Bowl than the 49ers. And I think the NFC is an easier path to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's as top heavy when you look at the users that's in the NFC, especially with the homie Bus having a down year this year, not playing to the level that he is. You look at the NFC, you got the Packers and the OG Chris Murray, and then the next best user, I think, is Ramsey with the 49ers. We're seeing a surprise right now. And we'll talk about one of his players later on, but you look at Taz with this Detroit Lions resurgence that they have in Detroit at 9-5 right now. It's crazy to think that Taz is going to be one of those guys you have to beat in the NFC playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. I just think the AFC is a harder path, and if KP finds a way to get out of that AFC juggernaut that he has to go through to get to the Super Bowl, he will be more prepared and ready to go versus a Ramsey. And I'm not just saying that because while I love Ramsey the dude, I hate him as a user because I got to see that guy twice a year and he's playing so well and he's got a good team there in the 49ers. But you tell me, you think Ramsey is closer to hanging another banner versus KP?
I think so. And the whole DML is based off of offense. And you're talking about one team that's a top 10 offense and another team that's maybe in the top 15. And that top 10 offense is the 49ers. You know, they're scoring 33.6 points a game. You know, it's not too many teams scoring that many points per game. And you have to ask yourself, let's say who's going to stop them in the NFC? And then if he was to face off against the Ravens in the Super Bowl, would KP be able to stop that offense? I would have to say no. So I believe the 49ers will raise another banner before KP raises his first banner in a while.
Well, the good thing is that we've seen these two users play against each other this year, and the Ravens got the W 24 and held the 49ers to 20 points. So we've seen that. I also think the schedule has really helped out Ramsey there with those 49ers. When he's played some guys, listen, he's lost to all the juggernauts in the AFC. He's lost to KP and the Ravens. He's lost to Mr. Toxic Gav himself in the Jaguars. He just lost to the Browns. And so when you look at Andy Force, kind of went in there and kind of shut this offense down and held them to only 14 points. He's got to, if Ramsey is going to raise a banner, he can't just keep beating up on the Seahawks and the Rams and the Cardinals. He just can't. He can't. He's got to find a way. He's got to find a way to beat the Browns, the Jags, the Ravens, the Seahawks. I mean, the Patriots, the Dolphins. Those are the teams he's got to find a way to beat, and he hasn't found that way. He literally has only lost 3 games, and all 3 of them are to the top 3 teams over there in the AFC. Whereas you look at the Ravens, and when you look at his record, he's lost to the Patriots, who is arguably one of the best, the Chiefs, arguably one of the best in the AFC. And then for some reason, I don't understand why, when guys play SJ in the Colts, I don't know if SJ got some like Harry Potter type magic that he puts on users, but users don't play their game when they play against SJ. You know the inside zone is coming.
Yes. Preach.
Listen, if the inside zone is not coming on first down, it's 100% coming on second down. And you have an opportunity to see it on first down and second down before he drops back and chunks it up on third down to try and get you. Now, mind you, if he gets a first down, he's going back to the inside zone. And if he gashes you for 5-6 yards on the inside zone, he's going to the inside zone again. And I think some guys forget that about SJ. And I'm sure SJ sits there like, do you not know that it's coming? Like, this is my offense, right? Like, when the Colts practice on Tuesday, they practice 3 plays: inside zone, punt, and throw the ball deep. It's their whole practice. The coach don't even have a sheet that tells you the different segments of practice. They know we're practicing inside zone out of 26 different formations. We're going to throw the ball deep, and then we're going to see what our punter can do in case we don't get a first down. That's his whole team, and he keeps beating people with that. Shout out to the homie SJ. We love him. But I still think KP is closer. But again, both of these guys have potential to raise a banner. But let's look at the side that I think you think and I think is most important, and that's the defensive side of the football. And when we look at who would you rather, let's look at these 2 outside linebackers in TJ Watt here for the Steelers and Micah Parsons for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure when Vitamin finally found out he was going to get the Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons was top on that list. I'm not sure that when the Steelers, when Easy drafted the Steelers, he could think about anything else besides TJ Watt, because that team is just outside of TJ Watt on defense, not very talented. But let's look at TJ Watt's stats, because this is a guy right now that's keeping this Steeler team intact. You look at 30 solo tackles. He got 23 tackles for losses in the NFL here in the Dynasty. That is absolutely nuts. And then on top of that, he's going to have 13 sacks. Noop, if you had to pick one of these guys, are you taking TJ Watt with these stats here, or are you leaning towards Micah Parsons?
Based on the stats, I'm leaning towards TJ Watt. I know just being a Falcons owner and the lack of a sack game, I just love the sacks, man. He's coming off and he's a threat every time he lines up. I know you have to, put that QB contain on him, spy on him or whatever to make sure that he's double teamed and everything, man. He's just that guy that requires a lot of time before you hike that ball. So for me, if I could have a player, it would be TJ Watt in Atlanta.
Yeah, if you look at TJ Watt, 83 speed, 90 excel coming off of the edge. He really is rushing the passer. He's not dropping in coverage a ton because that's what he does. He's very, very, very good at rushing the passer. Now, my bias is going to tell you I love Micah Parsons better, and that's just my bias. But if I'm stepping back as just a football fan, and we can look here at Micah Parsons' stats that kind of compare here to what TJ Watt is doing. Both of these guys playing well for their respective team. 24 solo tackles here for Micah Parsons. He's got 20 tackle for losses versus the 23. He does have one more sack in 14 sacks. But if you look at this Dallas Cowboy football team, and if you look at the attributes that this guy has in Micah Parsons, now of course Micah really is playing middle linebacker, but he can play both. He's rushing the passer as well. You got a 93 speed linebacker. To me, that is difficult to compare against TJ Watt. At 93 speed, there are cornerbacks in this league playing every down that don't have 93 speed. And this is a guy that you can put on the inside, you can put on the outside, he can put his hand in the ground, he can stand up and rush the passer. I just think, and we're not even talking about his age. I mean, this is only his second season. This guy's going to be around for the end of high stakes and going to be a factor for this Cowboy team. I would take Micah Parsons. And I think just solely on his flexibility of being able to play different positions. And listen, as a Cowboy fan in real life, I can tell you all the positives about him. What is the negatives about Micah Parsons that you look at and say, what can't this guy do? I mean, you could maybe look at his zone coverage. Maybe his man coverage is not where it needs to be. But, both of those in the low 60s. His zone coverage closer to 70 than 65. But still, this guy has 93 speed. What can't you do with this linebacker? What is the negative about this guy here when you look at these two side by side?
But I guess I would ask the question: will either of these players raise a Lombardi Trophy at the end of a season, just based off the users that are controlling the teams? You would figure that the Cowboys would be closer in the conversation. They just haven't been producing this cycle so far. What are your thoughts on that as being a former owner of the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think, listen, I think it was Bus. Maybe it was Bus that said it. It's just different when you got your team, right? Like, it's just different. Like, sometimes you push a little too hard or you hold on to a player a little too long. You draft differently. It's more difficult. And I think once Vitamin understands how to separate his love for the Cowboys and his love for hanging another banner here in the dynasty, he's going to figure it out. I mean, you talk about a guy that has not played well, and Nuke, don't put this show out until I play him tomorrow, because I don't want him to listen to the show and then take it out on me when I got to play it. But you just look at a guy who has lost some games he has no business losing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, no disrespect to the homie Taz, because what Taz is doing in Detroit, it's absolutely ridiculous. He is taking that Lions team. He has buckled down. I don't know if Taz got a new job. He's at home more. He can focus more. But this Lions team is balling. But to see the Vitamin lose to Taz in the fashion that he lost is weird to me. Especially when he goes in the next week or he beats Bino the week before and then he beats Dub the week after. It's like he had 3 games there when I look at it. Really 4 games coming out the bye week. Versus underrated, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Chargers, where if I'm King Vitamin, I'm looking at, okay, this is my opportunity to take a hold of this NFC East and try and hold off this Giants football team. And he just has not been able to put it together. But then you go to the other side and you look at the Steelers. And listen, I don't know as much about, Easy as I do Vitamin, but the Steelers right now they a doormat. Like, when you got the Steelers on your schedule, you telling your players, listen, we off Monday and Tuesday. We'll come in here for a walk around on Wednesday. But then we at the strip club with wings and strippers on Thursday because we got the Steelers this week. That's an easy dub for us. I mean, even Schemer said this is an easy win for me and went out and put up almost 50 points. Easy, you got to do better, my guy. I don't know what Easy's doing over there in Pittsburgh, but you guys need to be doing overtime in the lab somewhere. Because and here's the thing that I struggle with Easy about. He plays the Ravens and almost beats the Ravens in a 16-17 game. As a Steeler, you got to think, and there's no real moral victories, but you got to look at that Noop and go, okay, I almost beat one of the best users in the league. I got Schemer next. I got to blow Schemer out. And then he goes in there and lays an egg in Las Vegas. Maybe the Steelers got to Las Vegas early and didn't show up on time, but I don't think Easy has any chance here in the DML of raising a banner. I'm putting him, listen, not mentally the same, but I'm putting him on that level as HBO, a guy that every once in a while is going to wow you with the game that he wins, but's never going to raise a trophy here or hang a banner in the Dynasty. And I could be wrong, Noop. I could be wrong. Maybe one of these guys shock us. But I don't think Easy has any chance to raise Lombardi, so I'm going to have to go with Micah Parsons, and the Dallas Cowboys have the only chance out of these two to ever hang a banner.
Well, I guess we'll see. Both have, at this point, the Cowboys are a middle-of-the-road team, and the Steelers are pretty much doormat, like you said, so we'll see.
All right, the next segment is we're going to look at these rookies in this league, Noop. And we got some guys on this offensive side of the football that are just absolutely balling. And you're going to see some of these same teams that we've been talking about. But let's look at these four. And we got and we don't have to talk about every single one, Noop, but let's talk about Kevin Waynes here for Kansas City. What is this guy doing here that you look at and say, man, this guy is out here balling. He's going to be the rookie of the year.
He's going to be the rookie of the AFC just because he's a baller. This guy is 5'11", 201 pounds. So at the current standing in the league, he has 1,387 yards on the ground with 13 touchdowns. This guy has 93 speed with 94 acceleration with 90 agility. Whew, boy, that boy's bad. That means that he's able to he has that wiggle in his hip to get in between those tackles and those guards. And then once he gets between level with the linebackers, if he's even, he's leaving. And he's balling out so far this season. And I'm probably predicting that he's going to win the Rookie of the Year on the AFC side.
Yeah, and I like these four guys. But the guy I want you to really talk about, Kevin Waynes is playing well. But let's talk about this Quincy Hitchens kid over there in Green Bay. Why is this dude standing out for OG and Chris Murray, a guy that doesn't really run the football?
And that's why when I pulled up the stats, I was shocked to see that this guy has 1,705 yards on the ground with 22 TDs. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. This is for Chris Murray. And the Packers are averaging 131 yards on the ground. This is a guy that I've been playing with since Madden 16, who had Kevin White, to where he would run the ball maybe 2 times. To where now he has changed up his entire game to where he has a rookie that, let's be honest, this guy could be in the conversation for MVP if this wasn't on some Madden type stuff. This guy is having a hell of a season.
Yeah, and if you look at Quincy, is this the type of guy that can change Chris Murray's fortune and hang another banner here in the Dynasty?
I hate to say it, but probably, yeah. Because I don't want Chris Murray to win another banner before me, since he hasn't won since 16 either. But it's looking like, man, he may be on the path to raising another banner if he keeps playing the way that he does. I think in the past, people have figured him out because he became so one-dimensional, by always wanting to run the ball and just throw the ball deep. Now he's a little bit more balanced, and he's balling. I give him props on that. He's balling now.
Yeah, and I don't want to cause a fight between these two, but does OG raise a banner before the bus raises another one?
Yeah, for sure this season. Because it looks like the bus is down there with me, man. He might be losing 10 points this season. So
listen, you crazy. There ain't no way the OG raises another one before the bus. Okay, I mean, he is balling. Listen, with Quincy Hitchens, he is taking over that NFC North. It's his division to lose, and of course, you see that guy Ben Peel that's trying to chase him there in NFC North. But let's look at the defensive rookies, Nuke, because we want to make sure, we give love to both sides of the football. And You can see all the stats here. I mean, the Saints, the Chargers, the Steelers, not teams we gonna talk about in the end, right? They're just guys we not gonna deal with. But there is a guy on here in Amari Roth that has changed the culture in Detroit. What has this guy done? And you look at not only his ability in the run game to stop the run, but also his ability in the pass game. What is this guy doing that has changed the culture in Detroit and put Taz at the top of the NFC?
From the free safety position, he has 77 tackles with 10 INTs so far in the season, which is amazing. Amazing. Being a person that's on the outside looking in, that's an amazing feat, man. Just because I know my free safety is nowhere in the conversation as far as the stats goes for this young man. So I'm very impressed. It was a great pickup in the draft for him. He's put the team in the conversation, man, within the dynasty, which is amazing. You know, playing with Taz for so long, for him to finally be in the conversation and people around the league honestly taking him serious when it's time to play the game. Usually people used to mark him down as a win. You can't do that anymore. You got to go in with a good game plan and understand what's coming.
Yeah, Taz, let me let you know that in Arizona we still mark you down as a dub. So that hasn't changed, but he's definitely balling in Detroit. And you look at why is he balling in Detroit, Noob? You got to look at the past two drafts. He drafts Preston Zimmerman a year ago, 77 tackles at middle linebacker. Then he goes and gets Roth last year at the last draft coming out of Clemson, 73 tackles. I mean, you're talking about a young defense. Just between those two guys have 14 picks, over 140 tackles. This is going to be a formidable defense going forward for the next several years. And then we're not even talking about the guy Roosevelt Weathersby that's out there playing corner that's got 12 picks in Detroit. I mean, this is a defense that you cannot make a bad read, because if you do, this defense is taking it the other way. This is the chance right here for Taz to make the playoffs. I don't know if Taz has banner aspirations. I think right now Taz is just, let me get in the playoffs, let me get in the tournament, and we'll see what happens. But I see a formidable team in Detroit for the rest of this cycle, Noop.
I'll be honest with you. At this point, there's no more excuses coming out of Detroit, man. It's time to shit or get out the pot at this point, man. He's put together an amazing team. There's no more excuses at this point. In the first two drafts of the cycle, you have two top 5 picks in two different drafts. There's no more excuses. You're balling now. So you're no longer a doormat. You're not sneaking up on anybody at this point. Now it's time to go out, show and improve, and raise a banner at this point. He does have a lot of competition in his fellow division mate in the Packers. If he can get over that hump, knock Chris Murray off, I don't see too many teams that can compete with him in the AFC, man. I'm going to be honest with you as far as team, because I play Taz a lot, and I know what he likes to do. He likes to blitz a lot, but now he has the corners and the secondary to cover while he's sending that blitz. In the past, he didn't have that, so he would get eaten up a lot. But now he has those dogs in the back that can cover while he's blitzing.
It's true. Like you said, man, it's time. There's no more excuses in Detroit. But let's not forget, the best user in that NFC North is still the Bus. I don't care what his record shows. I don't know what Bus got going on. I don't know if Krispy Kreme got some new promos or what's going on where he got his focus somewhere else. I don't know if he's working on the Bus episode. I don't know what is going on in Chicago. Something has happened, because the Bus is going to come back, and he's going to come back with a vengeance. Because I remember Bus said, Noop, get my banner ready. I'm hanging another one this cycle. And I believe that coming out of the Bus. We'll see what happens. He's going to have to figure it out. All right.
I think he spoke too soon, man. Is
that what it was? He jinxed himself?
At this point, he needs to pull out that old CD player, put in that Janet Jackson, and ask, what have you done for me lately? Because he hasn't done anything.
He said pull the Walkman out, get the over-the-head headphones, come to 2 AA batteries, and figure it out, Bus. You got to get better, because right now the Detroit Lions is killing y'all.
Yeah, the Super Bowl goes through Green Bay. It goes through Green Bay.
Hey, it does. Right now it does. Come on, Taz. Make it go through Detroit. We'll see what happens. All right. That is the first episode of the Halftime Report with your boy Nasty Noop and Expert. Noop, what do you got for the Dynasty before we get out of here?
Man, let's just get back to having fun, enjoying the game. Stop acting like ladies. Let's act like men. We'll get into arguments. We'll get into fights. But as soon as the fight is over, get up, brush yourself off, man, and get back to work.
All right, guys. Don't forget, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment for us. How did we do? Hit that like button. And we enjoy doing these things. Let us know what you would like to see on the next halftime report, whether it's a certain position that you like for Who Would You Rather, or maybe what stats do we look at when we start comparing top players at the end. And then, of course, who knows what's going on in around the Dynasty. We'll always have some news to cover. But we will be back next season for the halftime report. Make sure you tune in then. On behalf of the DML Network, it's your boy Expert, and we out.